These are some of the little questions I get asked about the bats, and I'll kind of answer. They were more just like, who is my favorite? Who's my favorite wild bat? I've had, I think, three males that really have stuck out, and one female. The males would be Pat. He was my very first. He was just about a whole kilo when I got him out of fruit netting. He was a really big boy and smart and nice. I just enjoyed my time with him. The second would be Kingsley, and that's because he had lost the whole top of his scalp when he got hit by a car. And he had to learn how to eat, drink, everything. I had him for so long, and we had such a good bond when he went into the early Kirsch cages. He was just so, he'd follow me around. He was so big, and he'd be so kind to all the little babies that would come into care. And he was just such a beautiful bat. And he's been released. Unfortunately, I didn't get to say goodbye to him. That's a whole nother story. But he was just a beautiful boy. And then there was Phil. And Phil was on barbed wire at a muffler place. And he was got one wing caught, and then he got so scared, and he got his other wing caught, and he's lying up there with his both wings wide open. And the guy was so kind. He covered him up with a towel so Phil wouldn't be afraid, and he made sure he put his dog away because the dog was barking at Phil. So he did that. And of course, his name was Phil, so I named the bat after him because he was such a kind man. And Phil was just, he was just such a character. He would be able to open up the cage and get out and just sit there and look at you. And he was a wild bat, but he was so gentle and so, like, you'd think that I hand raised him. He was sometimes nicer than some of my hand raised babies. Beautiful boy. He was also, they're all been released, so that's always the best outcome for all those. And then the female was Sophie. She was hit by a car, and I was actually taking her to Currumbin to get her put to sleep, because, or euthanized, whatever you want to say, because she was bleeding out her nose, her mouth. She was just in such a bad way. I never thought that she'd be okay. And then they gave me a call going, she's all done. You could come and get her. And I went like, what? And they had done an operation on her, and she was fine. And she was released. So those are my three favorite uh, wild ones. Now, if you ask me who my favorite babies are, I would not be. I don't want to pinpoint one or two or 10 or 20, because they're all so special and unique in their own way. I could say, oh, this one for this and this one. But my mom always had a saying that was, you always love the one that needs you the most. And I think that is such a good way of putting it. Is you always love the one that is the sickest, or the neediest of them all, that needs you so much. That's the one that at that moment is the one that you love the most. So other questions I get is, what is the funniest thing I've ever seen a bat do? I could tell you that it was one of my babies. It was Topaz, and it was Christmas, and you're gonna lay the hat. I don't put the hats kind of on them. I just kind of put it above them. Makes it look like they're wearing the hat. So, anyways, I did it to her. For some reason, I thought it was funny, and I kind of chuckled. And she had from this angelic face of bewilderment to, I hate you. I am going to kill you. Look, it is so. I have the pictures of it. It's absolutely priceless. She goes from this little demure, sweet little baby, which she was, to a look that I've never, ever seen any bat ever give me. Ever. I don't even think it was possible for a bat to give a look like that. So that had to be the funniest thing that I ever saw a bat do. I've seen them be kind to each other. I've seen some let others go ahead of them to eat, and I've seen them pick on each other. So they're just a lot of fun, and everyone. And I have always remembered all their names, and even ones that aren't mine, and I've babysat or anything like that. I've always remembered all their names because they're all individuals. They have such different personalities, and you grow to love each and every one for who they are. So, can you just say one or two? No. I mean, the only reason why the wild ones are easier to pick is because are wild and they just want to be left alone. They just want to get better and go. So, they don't really interact with you that much. So, that's why I could remember a few that really stick out. There's other ones. There's little Shane with his, wing that was cut off by someone, like the membrane was cut off. So I remember him. He was in care for a long time, and I remember when I put him into the aviary, and they were always say they never look back. They just go. They never look back. And I put him into the aviary, and he stopped and he just stared at me. Just stared at me. And I know he was thanking me, or that's the way I'd like to see it. And he did look back. So they do look back. So I don't know if you found this interesting or not. Just that, especially I think this time of year when it gets closer and closer for them to go, you start remembering all of them and wonder how they're doing and hope they're doing well. And that's what it's all about, is making sure these little guys have the best chance they have. And like I said, the only reason, if I had him up right now, he wants to cling to me. So I can't, even having him arm's length, he's going to kind of try to go to me as close as possible. So I just wrapped the little monkey up because he's very vocal. He always tells me off, and he's very energetic. So I have to, as you see, he's trying to get out. So he's just a monkey. But he's the loudest of the two. So if it was the loudest of the two, he'd win it for this year. So, well, have a great day, and thank you for watching. And don't forget to subscribe to us, so that maybe one day I could get a better camera. I keep getting people say, "Well, get a better camera, or to get this or get that." Well, everything I have goes to my babies. So, I need you guys to subscribe and to watch the channel so that maybe one day I can get the better stuff. But for right now, you're stuck with this. So have a lovely day, and see you next time. Bye.